Yeah, so I'm here to talk about extending your agent with MCP. And MCP is probably this thing you've heard of, like you can plug things into your agent loop. So a Berk was, yes, a Berk like was just into Berk I was talking about like being able to like deploy your app to places, and so that's something that you could do with MCP. Like Azure has a great MCP server. There's like Supabase. There's all the places that Cloudflare has an MCP server. So you're probably familiar with like that as a concept as a thing you can use to make your like agent loop a better and more capable. But it's more than just tools, and so like a lot of those things, like deploying things, you could think of. You could also use a command line tool for that as well, and like agents can use command line tools really well as well too. They can have knowledge of like tools that have been around. They can also like figure out themselves pretty well how to use any given CLI. But the thing about MCP is that it's more than just tools, and actually tools were the kind of the first thing that came around when MCP was first created about a year and a quarter ago. So that came with tools and then resources and sampling, and then there have been a lot of like cool things since then, and I'm going to go through some of them today. There are several things that MCP does over just the CLI or over just like a basic like a tool call. Like one of those is dealing with resources, and so MCP tools can return resources like to you, so they can like generate images, and those can be like interpreted by your agent loop, and you can also provide those as well to your MCP tool calls. Also recently, as of the 2025 like 11.25 like revision, there is the notion of async tasks, and so something that like a lot of agent loops struggle with is dealing with like tasks, like a dev server that start like in the background, and we have like you have various ways and like detections that if we see like you're running a dev server in terminal, we can like detach from that and like not block on that. But in MCP, those kinds of things are first-class workflows, and so going back again to like deploying a site, you might have a task that creates a VM, which could take like 5 to 10 minutes, and you don't want your agent loop to be blocked on that, and so that's something that an MCP server can represent really well, like as a task that's running in the background that the agent loop can go and check in on again after it's finished. And there's also the notion of like licitations, and so MCP servers can ask you for information, as well as sampling, which is a way for them to make their own requests back to the LLM. And actually have a quick demo that shows some of these. So I just put together a really quick, just vibe-coded like MCP server that helps create a website. And so I'm going to start by saying I'm making a portfolio site that has all of my tools code in it. And so that's going to just call this tool. I'm going to just allow all tools in this session just to make it nice and easy. Oh no, 1 second. Let me pull. I think I have to pull this up again. I have like 5 different VS Code windows for doing demos of the session, so I think I didn't start that one. All right, let's try that again real quick. Let's start this again, and hopefully it'll all be good this time. There we go. So we started a new project, and this also like returned a resource. It's just kind of a dummy resource. It just says like this is my portfolio, and it has some like draft metadata around it. But now I can start showing off one of the new features, which is elicitation, or newish as of November. So I'm going to go ahead and say start designing my layout. And so what this is going to do is that it's going to have the model ask me, oh, I think I'm out of date. Normally this would show in chat, but we can go ahead and do that. And this opens a web page hosted by the MCP server, which lets me like kind of sketch out my design. So, I could have like a rectangle here for my content. I can have like a nav bar, maybe like a navigation, or maybe a sidebar there, and I'll say done. So now we see that actually comes back inside the tool call. So that comes back as a resource from that tool call. We see my beautiful design there. You can also have, if you have like Figma assets, for example, you can like save these assets as well. So I can go ahead and download those if I want to. I can just save them here into my test site folder, and there they are. So now, let's say I want to go ahead and configure my site. So configure my site. And this is going to show a slightly different mode of elicitation where it's basically a form-based elicitation where it's going to ask me essentially in kind of like quick pick flow what I want to do. So I'll do a creative site, I'll do a single page site. Sure, that color sounds great, and I'll do that as my maximum content, and let's skip the animations for now. I can also select my features, and so I want to say this is a contact form, and I can go ahead and do that. Now we should actually be about good to go. So let's go ahead and ask it to generate content. So this is actually going to go through the MCP server, and the MCP server is going to use the sampling feature to actually make its own requests going back to the model. So first of all, get a prompt, just because if you have a premium model selected, you don't want to have a server using a premium request without you knowing about it. But I can go ahead and allow that, and then that'll go ahead and create that content for me. So it's going to go make those pages. I think maybe the server is being a bit lazy here, but that's kind of the overall flow of some of these features. And if we go to the log of requests that it made, we should be able to see that, and we even see that it made these requests to the server and asked for these different contents. So that's kind of what we had as of last release, or sorry, as of the release back in December. But the cool new thing that came, and the cool new thing that's come recently is MCP Apps. Oops. Oh yeah. And I'll actually start by showing a quick demo from Storybook, which is an MCP server that's oriented around designing different components on the web, and how they used MCP apps in their scenario. So essentially, what they do, I'll try and skip forward this because I'm aware of time. They use MCP apps to actually show interactive content inside of chat. So MCP apps essentially give the MCP server a way to have their own content, which is shown inside of chat. And so the very basic way is just you have tool call, and tool call returns data, and the data is shown inside of a response. But these are actually fully interactive things as well. And so there's a few other cool things that you can do with apps. So I'm going to go ahead and swap to the window if I can find the window. Here we go. In this repo, I have some pull requests, and so I want to review those, but I don't know what I want to do first, and so I'm going to ask the model to please use the list sort tool, which has an MCP app attached to it. And what this does is actually lets me have an interactive list here, and I can drag around this list, and I can say maybe I want to view this PR first, and so I'll drag that to the top. And then in this app, I have a button to say I want to save the order, and so then it pre-fills my next message with that resulting order. So that's a nice way that I can really easily interact with this, and otherwise I'd have to copy and paste things around. But this gives me a very natural way to do that interaction. So it needs to do that, and then it's going to probably call GitHub and go ahead and start doing that. Oh no, I'll have to change. I'll change to a different model. Let's just do 4.1. Yeah, so that's one thing. One other kind of cool thing from this MCP server that I'm using, which is just a kind of demo server, is that I have the script here that does some benchmarking, and this just runs some benchmarking on some of the code in this repo. But I want to say that I want to then analyze this code. So I think I have something in my history. Let's see. So I can ask the model. I'm going to swap over to Haiku here. I'm going to ask it to run this benchmark and then analyze the result. So it's going to go ahead and take a second to read that and build my server, or build my project, if I can figure out how to do that. And then run the benchmark. And so we see that it completes here. And so normally I'd have to then, I think there's a CPU profile somewhere in here. But what what it actually did is that because it created a CPU profile file that was actually given to a tool that exposes an MCP app, and actually let me visualize that like directly inside of chat here. So I can, oops, I didn't want to close that. I just want to collapse that sidebar. So I can then like go in. I can see like this is the time it took to do these different things. I can click on, say I want to like analyze like this call frame a bit more, and it looks like actually creating this broken circuit error actually took like the majority of time in this one test case. And so I'll go ahead and click over into that if the click works, and then I can go ahead and hit analyze. And so that's going to then basically pre-fill again in a prompt to analyze like to analyze that frame in the call stack. And so it's going to give me like some good suggestions to fix these things, and then it looks like I think these are probably pretty good things. It's using a singleton error instead of creating a new one every time, because collecting a call stack is kind of expensive in JavaScript, and that should fix the issue. So those are both nice ways that you can use apps to kind of like visualize and kind of like create like interactions with your data inside your agent view. So it's really good for the human in the loop kind of things where you have like data that's messy or data that you can't, that's like not really like easy to like manipulate otherwise. You can actually now have a rich app that you can interact with in very easy ways to do these things. Hop over here again. Try to figure out how to go to my next slide with the YouTube video up. There we go. Yeah. So apps as we've shown can do a few things. They can show the results. They can actually also attach data to. They can also attach like, data to your context, and they can send messages on your behalf, which is what I showed in those two examples. But one really cool thing they can also do is they can actually also call tools on the MCP server itself, and you can use that to do some really interesting interactions. So, and both the two apps that I just demoed, those showed you visual, and then you could interact with it, but then the agent loop at that point was kind of done. But you can actually do a more advanced flow where you can actually have the MCP tool wait for interaction and that to happen before it returns control back to the model. So I have this flow diagram, but it's probably easiest to just show it to you. So I just like vibe coded. I just like one shot this color picker MCP. You can see my vibe coding right here. It was 2 requests. And essentially, what it's going to do is that it has a tool called pick color, and that's just going to show a color picker. And how MCP app is declared is that the tool has like metadata right here, which has a URI of a resource on that server, which presents that MCP apps UI. And then what I actually did here is I have a second tool called confirm color, and this is only going to be visible to the app itself. And then when this is called, it's going to like confirm the color like was picked, and then my pick color tool is going to wait on that pending pick to actually resolve. So I can go ahead and do that. I'm going to use haiku because I'm asking about a haiku, and I'll ask it to pick my favorite color, and then write a haiku about it. If it's going to work, no. I'm going to have to ask me for my favorite color. Let's try this. Well, that's not very useful. Using the pick color tool. As I said, this is vibe coded and like not tuned. There we go. So now it's actually going to use that tool, and we can see that the tool is actually still running as far as VS Code is concerned. But I can now go and interact with it. I like a nice dark green color, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that. And then once I hit confirm, it's going to send that response back to the model, and the model is going to hopefully write something very nice about my move. Yep, there we go. And just like that. So this was actually all vibe coded just using a skill, which Brooke just talked about. So there's actually just pulled down a skill from there we go, from this MCP Apps playground repo that another team member made, and I just like pulled this down. I said, hey Copilot, here's the skill, here's what I want, and then go do it. So that's how that app was made. So we're about out of time, but in essence, like those are the ways like you can use MCP to interact in rich ways like with the model. And if you're a developer of an MCP server, definitely check out MCP Apps. They're supported in VS Code, and I think Claude and OpenAI also support them now. So try them out, give them a shot, and yeah, build something cool. That's all for me. So I'll pass it off to whoever's next.